In the beginning, angels and demons fought endlessly in a war known as the Eternal Conflict. Their goal was to hold sway over all creation in the name of chaos. At the heart of their war was a powerful artifact known as the Worldstone, a reality-altering relic that granted untold power to those who wielded it. Yet, neither side would hold it in their possession for long. The main stage of the Diablo series would be set in a world named Sanctuary. This world was created by the conjoined forces of the high heavens and the burning hells to escape from the eternal war. Led by the archangel Anarius and the daughter of hatred, Lilith, they stole and used the great monolithic crystalline Worldstone, fragmented from the god Anu, to create this sanctuary. Their hope was to obtain peace from the never-ending war of their brethren. The stone would then rest at the heart of the world and remain a source of great power. It was hidden within the mountain region of Arit in Sanctuary. It's here we would see the rise of the first humans in the cosmology of Diablo, created by the union of angel and demon. These Nephilim would become the predominant people of the planet and the center of events throughout the game's timeline. Fearing the growing power of the Nephilim, Anuarius believed they should be destroyed to prevent the forces of heaven and hell from finding sanctuary and laying waste to his new paradise, as they had done so many times before across the course of the eternal conflict. This decision would not sit well with Anuarius, so he went into quiet contemplation to mull over this drastic choice. However, Lilith would not hear of the proposed filicide, having the need for the power of the Nephilim to fulfill her goal of overthrowing the high heavens and burning hells and being the sole victor of the eternal conflict. In a fit of rage, Lilith took the form of a beast, fang and claw, and began to slay every rogue angel and demon who lacked the good sense to return to their respective planes. This action angered Anuarius, but as he truly had feelings for Lilith, he vowed he would never kill her, nor could he harm her, and instead chose to banish her to a bleak realm of nothingness called the Void. The power of the Nephilim still proved too great to ignore. So, Anuarius attuned the Worldstone to lessen their power gradually over time, reducing them to powerless humans and robbing the Nephilim of their immortality. Those who rose up against Anuarius during this time would suffer under his wrath and be slain. Anuarius had gone into hiding not long after, leaving the world without leadership or guidance. Mankind would not sit idly by, and as tribes formed, civilizations rose across the world, forming their own governments and organizations. And man would eventually seek to restore their own power, developing the various forms of magic we see throughout history. One such form of magic, the power of conjuring spirits, was developed by the Vizgerii, the spirit clan of mages. One mage, Jared Kane, would conjure a spirit in a particularly dark mood and accidentally attract the soul of a demon from the burning hells. Realizing what he had conjured too late, he banished the spirit back. But that demon would reveal to the prime evils the location and existence of Sanctuary. The prime evils would then set a foothold on Sanctuary, realizing humanity could be used as a viable weapon, and established their own temple of the Triune. In response, Anuarius, desperate, returned from hiding and founded the Cathedral of Light to counter the influences of the Triune on humanity. Thus began the battle for the soul of mankind known as the Sin War. During this time, Lilith found a way back into the world from the void and began attempting to rebuild her army of Nephilim. Weaving her influence on a farmer by the name of Aldijan or Diadem while in the guise of a young human woman. Along with his brother, Mandel, and two of his friends, Achilla and Serenthia, the crew would rally the people of southern Khagistan, forming an army of powered Nephilim known as the Eterem. They would take on the Triune and the Cathedral of Light in tandem. It wouldn't take long before Lilith's manipulations were revealed and defeated, and she was banished for a second time to the void by Anuarius before Anuarius himself was defeated in combat by the farmer, Aldijan. The damage was done, and Sanctuary was now in plain view of both the high heavens and burning hells as a new battleground. However, in a joint decision by the Oniris Council of the High Heavens and Mephisto of the Burning Hells, Sanctuary was decidedly left alone and not destroyed, as so many other worlds had been before. They instead opted to stay out of humanity's way but also watch them from a distance. But at a price. Annuarius was promptly gifted to the high heavens as a peace offering, and for his transgressions, he was tormented in the realm of hatred for the next 3,000 years. At the culmination of the battle, Aldizian had sacrificed himself, lending his own essence to the whole of Sanctuary, sending both the armies of heaven and hell back to their respective planes. And the Worldstone was then reattuned, limiting the power of the Nephilim. Now leaderless after the fall of the Temple of Triune and Cathedral of Light, the mage clans assumed control of the political landscape of Sanctuary. The most powerful, the Visgerii, would hold the greatest influence. But internal strife would cause the delicate balance of power to collapse. Two brothers, Bartok and Horizon of the Visgerii, would struggle for control, not learning the lesson with summoning demons. The two waged a bloody war against each other, arguing over how to utilize demons to their advantage. This caused immense devastation across the world and led to the people of Sanctuary losing faith in the mage clans. At this time, the mage clans became reviled in the people's eyes, and religion moved in to take its place. An ascetic priest by the name of Akarat would found the religion of the Zakarim, becoming the dominant political power across the land, setting up footholds from Kurast, the center of power, to Westmarch in the far western lands of Kanduras. The failure of the prime evils during the Sin War would spark a civil war in the Burning Hells, ultimately ending in the exile of the prime evils Mephisto, Baal, and Diablo to Sanctuary, thanks to the combined forces of the lesser evils. They were hunted and imprisoned by a group of mages, a clandestine group known as the Horadrim, formed surreptitiously by the Archangel Tyrell as to not break the High Heaven's former pact to stay off Sanctuary. These Horadrim hunts resulted in the primes being held in specially attuned Worldstone shards known as Soulstones. One was safeguarded by the Zakarim in Kurast, one was sealed in the chest of the leader of the Horadrim, Tal Rasha, deep in the sands of Aranok, and the last was buried within a labyrinth built into the hills of Kanduras, which would later become known as Tristram. The influence of the prime evils was too much for the stones to contain. However, and Mephisto would begin to seep out his hatred throughout the Zakarim church, taking over the head of the order, Sankakar, after their former leader, Kalim, would not yield to evil's influence. His will was just too great. Mephisto counted on the events leading to the current state of being and set in motion his plan to free his brothers and once again use Sanctuary as a staging point to grow the power of the Burning Hells. He would then send the great adherent Leoric and his Archbishop Lazarus to Kanduras to find his seat of power in Tristram and free his brother as their new king, with the ultimate goal of the now corrupted Lazarus unearthing the Crimson Soulstone holding the youngest of the prime evils, Diablo's soul. This brings us to the events of Diablo 1. Tristram, with Leoric as their king, would flourish for a time but quickly descend into destitution. Lazarus found Diablo's prison and, after failing to utilize Leoric as the demon's host, turned to his younger son, Albrecht. The disappearance of Albrecht would drive the king mad, slaughtering the citizens of Tristram out of suspicion until his own knights would slay him. But not before he muttered a curse that would bind them to him even in undeath as the Skeleton King. Soon after, three heroes would come to Tristram's aid: Morina of the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye, Jazrith of the Visgerii, and Aiden, the eldest son of Kanduras. They would liberate the town from the evil influence of Leoric and Lazarus, but Lazarus's work was complete, and Diablo had found its new host in the young Albrecht. After a grueling fight with the beast on the outskirts of Hell, Aiden the warrior, realizing Diablo would once again escape, mistakenly took the Soulstone into his own body to seal the demon. But this act would not stop the plans of Mephisto, for the all-consuming influence of the prime evils would snuff out the light and leave only darkness in its wake. After a time of recovery and celebration, Aidan, Morina, and Jazrith would leave Tristram, but the burning hells would follow in their wake. Demons and undead ravaged the town of Tristram and spread throughout the land. In Diablo 2, 5 heroes, including Kasha the Amazon, Zul the Necromancer, and Ascendra the Sorceress, along with a yet unnamed barbarian and paladin, would arise to answer this new surge of evil. Aidan, now possessed by Diablo, set out across the land heading east towards Kurast, and having corrupted Morina, now the dreaded Blood Raven, enlisted the aid of the lesser evils, Duriel and his twin brother, Anariel, who had been summoned to sanctuary from the burning hells. A summoning that Morina was coerced into. These two lesser evils acted to slow the heroes from catching up with this new Dark Wanderer and his quest to free his imprisoned brother, Baal, whose location was hidden by lost Horadric knowledge, which the party uncovers in Horazon's arcane sanctuary, now inhabited by a newly corrupted Jazrith the Summoner. The heroes would then locate the prison of the demon Baal, with the aid of Tristram's town scholar and last of the Horadrim, Deckard Cain, rescued from the ruins of Tristram. But it's too late, Baal is now freed and Diablo still roams free. The two prime evils steal across the twin seas to Kurast and soon join together with their brother Mephisto, who opens a portal to the burning hells for Diablo and sends Baal to gather himself and rally his forces to launch an assault against Arete and corrupt the coveted Worldstone, while Mephisto holds off the heroes in the depths of the Travincal Temple. Diablo is then pursued into hell by the heroes, and with the aid of the Archangel Tyrell, he is defeated, and his and Mephisto's soulstones are destroyed in the Great Hellforge, presumably ending the two evils for good. The heroes then follow after Baal, joined by a druid of Skosklan and an assassin of the Vizjaktar. They confront Baal within the Worldstone Keep, who has laid waste to the barbarian homeland. But Baal has completed Mephisto's plan, corrupting the Great Stone with a shard of his own soulstone. Even with the destruction of Baal, it's too late to reverse the damage. In a last-ditch effort, Tyrell destroys the Worldstone, scattering its shards across Sanctuary. In Diablo Immortal, Diablo's minions begin collecting shards of the Worldstone for the burning hells to resurrect the Lord of Terror. But with the aid of the Archangel Gilnera, these efforts fail, and the heroes stop the resurrection of Diablo. 20 years pass between Diablo 2 and 3, with very little happening in between. Then, Tyrell, who was thought dead, is resurrected after he was destroyed in the blast of the Worldstone's destruction. Forsaking his angelic mantle, he is sent plummeting to Sanctuary, where he plays his part in the events of the End of Days prophecy. Deckard Cain and his adopted niece, Leah, with the aid of another band of heroes, a barbarian, wizard, witch doctor, monk, and demon hunter, all canonically yet unnamed, save for some lesser connections to the short stories, uncover a plot of another lesser evil, Belial. He has sent his minion, Magda, and her coven to obtain the fallen star for himself. After killing Cain, an enraged Leah unleashes a terrific torrent of power, revealing a hidden gift within her. After saving Tyrell from Magda and restoring part of his angelic power, they set out to stop Belial and the final lesser evil, Asmodon. In response, a full-scale assault from the crater of Arete is launched, all while learning more about Leah's growing power. They find and rescue the witch Audria, who is revealed to be Leah's mother and mentors her in her growth. They also resurrect the slain Horadrim mage, Zoltan Kull, who constructs another soulstone capable of holding the souls of all 7 great evils. He also reveals to the heroes their long-dormant power and sets them on the path to awakening it with the Black Soulstone. The heroes capture the essence of Belial and Asmodon, yet strangely, the essences of the other 5 slain evils reside within already. Strangely, that is until Audria reveals that she altered the stone and bound the evil's essence to it, drawing them in during a time of their demise. But the Soulstone was complete without a host. However, One perfect candidate exists, Leah, the daughter of Audria and Prince Aiden. After he imprisoned Diablo within himself, she joins with the Soulstone and, now in possession of all 7 evils, becomes the prime evil, the living incarnation of Tathamet, the great 7-headed dragon that became the burning hells. Now powerful enough to mount an assault against the high heavens, Diablo routs the forces of heaven and nearly succeeds in destroying the Crystal Arch. But, at the pinnacle of heaven, an awakened Nephilim, the heroes of Diablo 3, confront Diablo, and with the aid of Leah, stop the prime evil. For a time, all is quiet, save for a small coup involving Imperius absconding from heaven with the Black Soulstone to prevent its corruptive influence from doing any more damage to the high heaven. But one other angel desires its power also, Malthal, the once Archangel of Wisdom, now the Angel of Death. He takes the stone from Imperius and launches a campaign to destroy the population of Sanctuary and the Burning Hells, as he deems the humans of Sanctuary being part demon evil. Malthal nearly succeeds if not for the intervention of the same awakened Nephilim, which we, the hero, control. This is even after Malthal absorbs the souls of the 7 evils trapped in the Black Soulstone, which are released upon his death. It's also during this time that a Crusader and Necromancer join the ranks of the heroes. But who ends up being the canonical hero of Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls is yet to be revealed. Perhaps we shall see in Diablo 4. This takes us to the upcoming addition to the timeline with Diablo 4. Lilith has returned yet again, released by the machinations of an enigmatic pale summoner known as Elias, and has begun to spread her influences around Sanctuary and the Burning Hells. Annuarius curiously has also returned, but by whose hand yet is unknown, and we will see in time. One of the fates of Diablo 4. To hear more of this story, donate $24.99 to the channel. I'm joking. Moving on. 20 years have passed between Diablo 2 and 3, with very little happening in between. But now, Sanctuary faces a new threat. Lilith, once again released into the world, spreads her influences across Sanctuary and the Burning Hells. Annuarius, strangely, has also returned, and his resurrection remains a mystery. Meanwhile, the fates of Diablo, Mephisto, Baal, Belial, and Asmodon are unknowns. The story unfolds, and the battle for the Worldstone takes a new turn. Prepare for an epic adventure in Diablo 4, where darkness and hope collide, and heroes rise to meet the challenges ahead. Will you be the savior or the doom of Sanctuary? Only time will tell as you embark on a journey filled with danger, mystery, and epic battles. If you enjoyed this retelling of the Diablo series, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications for more captivating stories and exciting game content. And as always, may the light guide your path and the shadows sharpen your senses. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.